Alrighty, welcome to Econ Chat, videos designed to help you be successful not only in the class and on the milestone, but maybe, possibly, even in life. And welcome to this one, where we are quickly reviewing the macroeconomics unit. And what I've done for you today is we just had a review session. Some of y'all may have actually been there, and I just recorded it. And so to begin with, we started with the questions, and I gave you 10 sample questions also there on the classroom, and just kind of talked through all the main points of the stuff that you need to know. Now, of course, this is an entire unit, and we managed to cram it all in within 50 minutes, so this is the big picture stuff, right? These are the things that you need to know. And as you may have guessed by now, I tend to like to speak really quickly, and so hopefully by showing you this and providing this this review this way for you, you can have a chance to pause it, go back, and catch something that you may have missed or something that you didn't understand the first time. And you should also notice that in the questions that I provided along with this announcement, that you the practice questions have the actual questions, and then if you keep on scrolling down, there are the answers. And I've just highlighted not only the actual answer, but I also highlighted pieces in the question that should help you in determining the answer to the question, if that makes sense. So make sure that you pay attention to those questions. Feel free to watch the video, and hopefully that will help make sense. Any of the videos or any of the other notes and other things that I've provided along the way will also be helpful. But if you do have questions and you don't understand, remember that you can come see me if you're at Harlem first period tomorrow before we take the test to clear up any of that. If you're at Greenbrier or if you're at Evans, feel free to ask either Ms. Hackett or Mr. Borders, or you can just put a question that you may have under the comments there, and I will be able to help you with those as well. Ultimately, though, macroeconomics tends to be one of the toughest units in economics for our students, but as long as you keep a few of these things in mind, then you should be okay. So, best of luck to you. Thank you so much. Take care of yourselves and each other. Have a test tomorrow, okay? We will be in the media center, learning commons, whatever, taking that test. And the hope is that I haven't checked to see who's gotten done with the USA test prep stuff yet. I know that it might seem like a lot, but honestly, all that's supposed to cover, remember, this is a unit test. This is everything about macroeconomics, so I wanted to give as much as possible. With that as well, there's, I think, 45, technically 42 questions for practice. Now, it may seem like a lot of practice too, but the one thing to remember is that you have about 70 to 80 on the milestone in 2 different sections. So your sections are going to be about 35 to 40 questions long anyway, so I like to make sure that you're practicing that. Plus, your test tomorrow is going to be 35 questions. So that's why it may seem like a lot, but it shouldn't take you that long, I don't think, as long as you're just looking at the questions to try to learn from them. And that's the big key thing there. Obviously, I want you to do it, but there is a reason why I want you to do it. So having said all that, since I said that we have a test tomorrow, I want y'all, first of all, I need y'all to be active today. I don't want you to, I know it's second period, I know normally you're not used to being here and all that kind of stuff, but if you would, please just throw it at me so that we can make this process as quick as possible. Tell me, on this test tomorrow, what is it, some of the things you think you need to know? Whoa. Types of unemployment. Beautiful. Do you need to know unemployment?
Please pardon the interruption, but teacher, this is your last call for the flu shot in the Learning Commons. This is for teachers. If you need coverage, please email Ms. Waters or Ms. Thurman, and we'll get you covered while you come down. But they are about to wrap it up, so teachers, last call for flu shot. Thank you.
By the way, unemployment. Does that mean that it's everybody that's unemployed? What do you have to be? You have to be jobless and actively looking for work. That's right. And then we have those 4 types. What are those 4 types? Frictional, cyclical, structural, and the easiest one, seasonal. Okay? All right, so making sure you know those 4 types. Beautiful, good one. What else do we need to know? The business cycle, indeed we do. You need to understand the business cycle. You need to be able to not only label it, understanding this is peak, contraction, trough, expansion, peak, contraction, trough, expansion, all that good stuff, but you need to understand what's going on during a contraction. What's going on during an expansion? What does it mean if we say we're at a peak? You need to understand that. So like, for example, where would we see unemployment going up?
Expansion. Unemployment going up.
Yep. Contractional. It's the C word, yeah. Unemployment goes up here. People are losing their jobs here. Right? Unemployment here, people are getting to get their jobs back. Unemployment's going down here. That always throws people off. What about GDP? What's happening to GDP here? It's going down as well. Our economy's falling. GDP, it's going up here. Okay, so you need to kind of understand that stuff. Speaking of GDP, that's another thing you need to know, right? That's the dollar value of all goods and services produced in our country in a year. Okay? Gross, that doesn't mean nasty, that doesn't mean disgusting. That means total. Domestic, here, product. What are we producing? Okay? GDP. One more indicator that you have to know. CPI, which measures what? Consumer Price Index. So if we're thinking about prices, what are we looking for here? What does that tell us? All right, good thing we're telling you. You need to make sure you understand what inflation is. Which, by the way, thinking of a balloon, inflation means prices are doing what? Going up. That's it. Prices are going up. Okay, sweet. And we measure that by CPI. We look at a Consumer Price Index. Remember, that's the market basket. That's where we have the big old grocery cart. And we're just filling it with everything that a typical person buys in a given month. And we find out how much it costs. If all that crap costs $3,500 in essence, and then the next month it costs $3,600, what can we conclude has happened? Inflation. That's how we know what's going on. Okay? So these are the indicators. We need to know GDP. We need to know inflation. We need to know unemployment. We need to know how all this works on the business cycle. The important thing about the business cycle, of course, is that this helps us determine what we're going to do next. See, this stuff, guys, remember, tells us how is the economy doing. Great. We know, we look at our GDP, we look at our inflation, we look at unemployment, and we can say the economy's good or the economy sucks. And depending on how the economy's doing, we've got to do something about it. And that means there's two more things that y'all haven't mentioned yet that you may have noticed are really heavy on your practice questions. What are the two other things that we have to know for this test tomorrow? All right, so we either do a monetary policy or we have fiscal policy. Y'all got to know these. Monetary, money, monetary, money, monetary, monetary, money, monetary, monetary, money, monetary, monetary, money, monetary, monetary, money. Monetary policy deals with what? Okay, what about money? What are we doing? I heard you. What'd you say? All right, so we're looking at the supply of money. Now, guys, I'm not talking about that one day we just decide to wake up and throw $1.3 trillion out in the backyard, put some kerosene on, and have a big old bonfire and get rid of that money. Nor am I talking about we saying, all right, boys, roll up the presses. Let's go ahead and print some more cash out. I'm not talking about that either. What I'm talking about here, guys, is access to money. How easy is it for people to borrow money? Are we going to make it harder for people to borrow money, or are we going to make it easier for people to borrow money? Let me ask you this. Think about this for a second. Why would I, if I could make the decisions, things would be a whole lot different, let me tell you that much. But if I could make the decisions, why would I want to make it hard for people to borrow money? What would I get out of that? What would be the reasoning behind that, do you think? Think about this. If I made it hard for you to borrow money, to buy a car, to buy a house, to go to college, what does that mean then? What are you going to do? Or what are you not going to be able to do? You're not going to be able to actually spend that money, okay? You're getting there. It's fine. Keep spending them out. You're not going to be able to spend that money. Okay? So I'm not able to spend that money. What's going to happen to the economy a little bit? It's going to what? It's going to go down. It's going to slow down. Why? What could possibly happen where I'm going to sit there and I'm going to say, God, I need to slow down the economy? What happens when the economy runs too well? You don't know. Now I hope you will know. We talked about this point in the business cycle. The economy is booming along. Unemployment's falling. GDP's going up. There's going to be one thing that happens. One thing that happens. Let's look at our supply and demand curve, shall we? Here's my supply and demand curve. Here's my aggregate demand. Here's my aggregate supply. Here's my equilibrium price. If all of a sudden I make it real easy, everybody's got jobs now, everybody's got money coming into their pocket, we're producing a lot of stuff, what do you think is going to happen to any demand curve? It's going to go up, right? So which way does it shift? It shifts to the right. Okay? Everybody's got jobs now. People got cash in their pockets. We're going out, we're blowing our money on $1.6 billion lottery tickets. I'm sorry I didn't win last night. God. We wouldn't have been here. No, absolutely not. We would not have been here. Yeah. You would never hear from me. They did sell that winning ticket in South Carolina, supposedly, though. Just that close. So anyways, I shift my demand curve. Aggregate demand's going up. What does that mean for equilibrium price? What has happened? It's gone up. Okay. So, if the economy's humming along too well, people have jobs, the economy is booming, people are spending money, what is one of the things that could happen if the economy happens too good?
Inflation.
There we go. Inflation. See, sometimes the economy being good isn't necessarily always good. So what we've got to do is the economy's humming along. We're doing really, really well. We're booming. Everything's going well, but the economy gets too hot. It's sizzling. It's too hot. We got to cool that bad boy down. See, every time I've drawn the circular flow model, the business cycle, and every time you've seen it, it's always this roller coaster thing, right? It's always this up and down, up and down, up and down thing. Y'all may like roller coasters. How many of you do? I do as well. What can be sometimes a problem, though, if you ride too many roller coasters? Makes you sick, right? You feel nauseous. You feel like you're going to throw up. You're just like, ugh. So, what do we really want to do, guys, when we do monetary policy or when we do fiscal policy, is we want to try to not have this up and down where one month we're booming along and then 3 months later we're down in the pooper. And then we're right back up again and then 6 months later we're down in the pooper again. We don't want to do that. We want to do what we can to try to smooth things out. We want nice, steady growth. So when the economy is down here, we're going to do something to try to smooth it out. Well, when the economy's peaked out too much and inflation, where is it? Where did I write it? I erased it already. Oh, there it is. When inflation has come in, we're going to try to do something to smooth that out. And that's where monetary and fiscal policy come in. Okay? That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to smooth out this business cycle. Now, with that in mind, you should know that if unemployment's going down, GDP's going up, and inflation is high, we're going to do one thing. If the economy is going down in the crapper, though, we're going to do something else. And that's what I need to make sure that you find people know the difference between these two. Give me about 5 to 7 minutes, and hopefully I will make sense of this for you. Let's start with our friend monetary money, money, monetary, monetary, money, money, monetary, monetary, money, monetary, money, money, monetary policy. If I'm talking about monetary policy here, first off, who does it? The Federal Reserve. You got to know that. The Federal Reserve. Remember, our money is called what? A Federal Reserve note. Monetary money, money, monetary, monetary money, money, monetary, monetary money, money, monetary. My money's called a Federal Reserve note. Monetary policy is done by the Federal Reserve. By the way, how many districts are there in the Federal Reserve? Oh, 12. Good. Okay. You can also amaze people with your dorkery. Does anybody have a single dollar bill on them? You see the actual $1 bill. Check this out. I'm about to get all freaky on you people. I only have 5. Oh, big money, huh? Okay. But just tell me, there should be a letter. Do you see a letter circle around it? So like to the left side, You'll see those letters right there? All right, now if you'll read that city, don't read it out loud, but I just want you to tell me the letter.
What city?
It should be around that letter. Oh, don't tell me. Well, here, I can tell you this. If you told me it's Atlanta, Georgia, I can tell you the letter. It's F, isn't it? Oh! Oh! All right, who's got another $1? Throw it away. Well, not throw it away. Throw it my way. B is New York, New York. City so nice they named it twice. L is I think L is San Francisco.
Well, I have G.
You have G. That's Chicago, Illinois, home of Dub Bears. Yeah, let's rock and roll. See?
Wait, let's see what else.
D. Dang it. D, C.
I have H, D.
H is St. Louis.
I have an E.
E is Atlanta, Georgia.
D.
D is D is Cleveland.
Where are we looking? I have a C. That would be here.
Anyways,
It's Ohio.
B.
it is Cleveland, Ohio.
It just says Ohio.
I bet it says Cleveland, Ohio. You got a fake bill there then. Anyways, my point being is that what that's telling you is that every time that we want to order money, the Federal Reserve System, depending on the 12 banks, wherever they're located, so like for example, when you have Atlanta or you have New York or you have Chicago or you have St. Louis or you have San Francisco or whatever, that tells you that Federal Reserve Bank, one of those 12 banks, ordered that money to be printed. That's all that means. And they put these serial numbers on them and all this kind of stuff so that it's harder to duplicate. Now, 12 Federal Reserve banks, you should know that there is a chairperson that leads over all of it, and they oversee something known as the Open Market Committee. Okay? And then this committee is looking at the what's the word I'm looking for? Economics. God almighty. The economic indicators. They're looking to see, hey, what's GDP? What's inflation in these areas? So like the Atlanta Federal Reserve Bank is looking to see in an area that they have mapped out, how is the economy doing? And based on that, they make decisions. Okay? Now, what is it that the Federal Reserve does? This is where, I put a PowerPoint in there, a slide that I wanted to explain, but this is something that I came up with to help you with certain questions. Like, for example, number 4. Because number 4, I'll go ahead and tell you, is probably the toughest question of those 10 that I gave you. Number 4 is going to be the one that's most often missed. I'd be willing to bet. And that's a tough question. But there's something here that will tell you that I can give you that you can do on your own. Remember, you're going to have scratch paper on the milestone. You've got scratch paper on the test tomorrow if you so desire. And you can easily, quickly draw this out. But of course, you have to kind of understand what's going on there. And I call it the Dr. Omo chart. So if I'm talking about adjusting the supply of money, the supply of money can either go 2 ways. What is it? Up or down. So the supply of money goes up, or the supply of money goes down. Bam! Supply of money goes up, the supply of money goes down. You should already be able to tell yourself that. It's only one of those 2 things. Now, we have to understand what Dr. Omo stands for. There's a reason why I call it the Dr. Omo chart. D-R Omo. These are the 3 things, when we talk about monetary policy, these are the 3 things that the Federal Reserve does. The only 3 things that the Federal Reserve does. Does anybody know what the D stands for? Don't be dirty.
Discount.
Very good. Discount rate. The discount rate. And if you don't know what the discount rate is, understand that discount rate is basically just interest rates. When I say interest, what is interest? If I say you're going to borrow money and I'm going to charge you 5% interest, what does that mean?
It's like we have to pay that.
Right, and an easier way to think about it, it's the cost of money. If I'm going to borrow money at 10% interest, it's cheaper than if I borrow money at 50% interest. So that can change sometimes depending on what the Federal Reserve does. The R is known as the reserve requirements.
Guys, one thing I want you to remember about the Federal Reserve is that the Fed is like the granddaddy of banks. It's the big daddy bank. It is the bank of banks. It's the bank of the government. When you need to borrow money, you go to the bank. When the bank needs to borrow money, guess where they go? Federal Reserve. So one of the things that the Federal Reserve does is it changes discount rates, the interest rates. It also tells banks, hey, you are required to keep a certain amount of money in reserves. 1913, the Federal Reserve came around. There was always this big debate. Even way back in the day, Hamilton and all them boys were arguing, should we have a big central bank? And they never did for 130-something years. And then they finally decided, you know what? We need a big central bank to take care of things. What you got? Reserve requirement. What do you think happened where they finally said, you know what? 1913, golly, we need a big central bank. What do you think the economy was doing at that time? Not very well. The economy had gone through all these mini depressions, bank runs, everybody freaking out. And so they said, hey, we need a bank to look over everything. One of the things that was a problem was during these depressions and during these times of economic panic, people would panic, they'd freak out, and they'd run to their bank, and what would they do? Take all their money out. Which is fine if your bank has all that money there. So you people go and get all your money. I go up and show up for my bank and be like, hi, yes, can I have my money, please? What would they tell me? Sorry, senor, we no money. I'm like, okay, that's a bad thing. So what the banks would do is, because if you don't know, here's one thing about banks that you need to understand. Banks are not like nice places that just keep your money safe and give you a calendar and crap like that. They're a business. They take your money and then they loan it out to other people and they charge them interest. And then they collect that interest. They pay you a little bit of money for holding their interest, for holding their money. And that's how they make money. They use your money to make more money, which is fine. It's a business. It's cool. But that's what they do. So sometimes banks wouldn't have enough money in reserves. Well, the Federal Reserve said, hold up now. Nope. You got to hold a certain amount of cash in reserves. You got to have a certain amount of money back there so that you make sure that nothing happens, so that your bank is healthy. The last thing is known as open market operations. All this deals with is the buying and selling of bonds. How many of y'all have savings bonds? Have you ever had a savings bond? If you've never had a savings bond, let me tell you what a savings bond is. Because I used to get one every year. My sweet old grandma. My sweet old grandma would go to the bank and she'd tell the banker, she'd be like, yes, I've got a cute, smart, husky little redhead grandson, and I want to get him a birthday present. And so she would give me a $50 savings bond. And what would happen is my grandmother would go to the bank and give them $25. The bank would say, thank you very much, Miss Grandma. Here's a $50 savings bond. Now, when I got these as a kid, I never understood it because my mom would take it away from me and I'd never see it. It wasn't like a check or anything. I was like, what is this thing? I figure out what it is my grandma gives $25 to the government and they issue her a bond. So basically, they're paying her back $25, but with interest. This is how the government borrows money, by the way. The government borrows money from people like my grandma, from you. You can go buy a bond right now if you want to. Businesses, other countries, all that buy bonds. And all a bond is, it's a loan, and then they say, hey, in 10 years, tell your chubby little red-haired grandson to come see us, and we'll give him $50. So whenever you hear that the government, because we always hear this, who does the United States supposedly owe all this money to? What's the country that supposedly people will tell you own our debt? China owns our debt, right? It ain't like, a couple years ago, Obama called up China and like, China, Barack Obama, let me borrow $3 trillion. That's not how it works. Like, I'm a little short this month. I need to borrow some cash, dog. No, that's not how it works. What it works is that China buys bonds from us. And we say, cool, we'll borrow your $25 billion, and in 5 years, we'll pay you $50 billion. Okay? So it's bonds. So it's buying and selling of bonds. Now, Dr. Omo, the rules to this chart is, if you can remember DROMO, If you can remember, the D is discount rate, the R is reserve requirement, and OMO is open market operations, then the rest of it is you need to understand what your arrows were. If the arrow goes up, you go down. The arrow goes down, you go up. Hey, if your money supply increases, guess what? You can buy crap. If your money supply goes down, you should sell stuff. And there you go. Now you've got the Dr. Omo chart that tells you, hey, if I, as the Federal Reserve, want the supply of money to go up, I'm going to either lower the discount rate, I'll lower the reserve requirement, or I'll buy bonds. If I want the supply of money to go down, we will increase the interest rate so people won't borrow money as much because it's more expensive. Or we'll increase the reserve requirement so banks are holding on to more money so people can't borrow it. Or we will sell bonds. So see, here's my bond. Right? Here's a bond. There it is. I'm going to sell it. Andrew Adams is going to give me $2 million for it. There you go, Andrew. I have taken $2 million out of the economy. Andrew doesn't have this $2 million to go blow on his new yacht anymore. Right? But check it out what happens if I buy this bond from him. I'm going to buy this bond back from you. I'm going to give you your $2 million. There you go. I've put money back in the system. Now Andrew can go hog wild with his money all he wants to. Okay. Open market operations is the most important thing that the economy does, or excuse me, that the Federal Reserve does. You just need to know that. That's the best way, that's the quickest and dirtiest way that we put money in and out of the system. All right. A lot of stuff, but we're moving. Now, the last thing that we needed to talk about real quick is not just the monetary policy of the Federal Reserve, which, by the way, adjusting the supply of money, one thing we forgot to mention that we also need to know, medium of exchange, store of value, standard of value, right? Those are the three roles of money. And my handwriting is atrocious. Medium of exchange, store of value, standard of value. Speaking of money. I'll hit back up those in a second when we go over these questions. The last thing that we need to know, though, is fiscal policy. Who does fiscal policy? All right, remember? A, B, C, D, E, F, G! F, G, fiscal government, fiscal government, fiscal government. Fiscal policy is done by the government. What are the only two things that the government is going to do when it comes to fiscal policy? The only two things. What do they do best? That's it. They tax and they spend. Okay? That's it. They tax and they spend. Two different types of policies. Expansionary policy or contractionary policy. Y'all are smart. Which one of these do you think means to grow the economy? Okay, that means we're growing. Or we're slowing. Hey, if I want to grow the economy, what do I need people to do in my economy in order for it to grow? What do I need to be happening? Spending money, absolutely right. What would I do to your taxes? I would lower them. If I lower your taxes, that's more money in your pocket to go out and spend. What do you think government spending would do then? It would go up. We need spending going on, baby. If we want to expand this economy, we got to spend. So we'll either lower their taxes so that you can go out and spend, which, by the way, expansionary, spend, expand, or the government itself will. Y'all remember your your U.S. history, the Great Depression? One of the things that FDR did was spend a lot of money. They built bridges and roads and dams and dam roads and all that kind of stuff, right? They built a whole bunch of stuff. We also got into a little war, and we spent a lot of money on our military. We spent a lot of money. That's what helped to try to get us out of the muck and started expanding our economy. Sometimes, though, as you know, the economy can get too hot. Down, boy, down! We need to slow it down. So what will we do to taxes? We'll raise those taxes so people can't spend as much money. Or, what will we do with government spending? It'll go down. If you remember one, you'll remember the other because it's just the opposite. So, I've thrown these terms out at you, contractionary and expansionary. Remember your Dr. Omo from 3 minutes ago? If I talk about the supply of money going up, is that an expansionary policy or a contractionary policy? If I am making the supply of money go up, that's expansionary. Yeah. We're expanding the supply of money. If I make it go down, what am I doing? Contractionary. Think about the belly. So like back in my day, I used to have a belly that was kind of something like that. And then it expanded over time. Right? My wife, 3 different times in our marriage, which by the way today is our 9th anniversary. So no late messages tonight. My wife had a belly like this, right? She had contractions, went right back down again. Okay? So it went down. Now let me ask you, if during a contraction phase of the economy, am I going to need to expand things or contract it even more? That would make it go back down. I need to expand. Yeah. I need to do something that's going to expand our economy. If the economy is expanding and it's expanded too much and it's too hot, what do I need to do? I need to contract that mug. Okay? Now this is where I know things are getting tough. But this is where, excuse me, this is where we're going to start putting the metal to the road. Let's look at these practice questions real quick. Number 1, recent high school graduate has never searched a job before. He does not know what he's qualified to do. Turns out a job at factory open for better paying work. What kind of unemployment is he experiencing? Frictional. He's not, remember guys, he's not jumping right back into the job market. He's taking his time to find the right job. And as I'm taking my time, what am I creating? Friction. Which monetary policy decision is meant to increase the U.S. money supply? Let me tell you people something. There are 2 answers right there on number 2 that you should not have ever put ever. Without a doubt, you look at them and you can say, not that one, not what one. What are the 2 answers? A and C, absolutely right. Because of Congress. Congress has nothing to do with monetary policy. So it's either B or D. Well, which one, based on Dr. Omo, which one of those 2, B or D, does the economy actually do? Or did the Federal Reserve do? D. That's it. Did you see anything about borrowing money from foreign banks? Nope. But we buy and sell bonds. That's where Dr. Omo could help you. Number 3. We're not going to read all of it, but I'll go ahead and tell you. The answer is A. The monetary is Federal Reserve's authority to change the money supply. Monetary, money, monetary, monetary, money, monetary. Fiscal policy is what the government does, increasing taxes or spending. Now, number 4. Let's get Dr. Omo back up in here. Number 4. Because I'd be willing to bet that most of you looked at that and said, I have no idea what this thing is saying. Is that a pretty good assumption? Okay. Hey, this is my first radio. I know how it works. Supply money going up, supply money going down, 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 buy, up, sell. All right, let's look at number 4. The Federal Reserve wanted to stimulate the U.S. economy and reduce unemployment. So we wanted to stimulate the economy. Which one do I need to look at? Supply money going up or supply money going down? If I'm going to stimulate the economy, I need some people out there spending. So what am I going to do? I'm going to make the supply money go up. So which of these 3 things right here interest rates, remember the discount rate are interest rates. And I'm going to make those go down. I'll make it cheaper for you to borrow money. People will borrow more money. There'll be more spending. And we have stimulated the heck out of that thing. Okay. Tough. That's the toughest question. This one's a little bit easier. Number 5, the process by which the government manages spending and taxes. What is that? That's C. That's fiscal policy. Government, fiscal. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Fiscal, government. Okay. Hey, number 6. When the Fed is conducting open market operations, what are they doing? 6 is C. They're buying and selling bonds. Remember? Open market operations, buy or sell. Okay. I need to know that those are bonds. Think of my sweet old grandmama. contractionary fiscal policy. What does contractionary fiscal policy do to growth? If I'm contracting it, what am I doing? I'm slowing it down. The economy's gotten too hot. It's sizzling. Ooh, ah. I need to slow it down. I need to contract it. Number 7, therefore, what letter was that? C. Thank you very much. Number 8, federal debt. Total amount borrowed from investors to finance government spending. In 1940, it was $50.7 billion. By the way, about how much is it now? About 21 trillion. Got that going for us, which is nice. And I'll go ahead and tell you, by the time y'all graduate from college, if you go for 4 years and all that, it's going to be up to around $25 trillion. It's going to go back up. We're spending a lot of money. Plus, I don't know if you read the news, but what is one thing that President Trump is touting as one of his successes? What did he do with taxes? What did him and Congress do? They lowered it. So think about this. We're spending more money, but yet we've lowered our taxes. We've taken out another credit card, but yet we're losing hours at work and we're not bringing in as much in a paycheck. What's going to happen? We have more debt, right? Now the thought is over the long term, 15, 20 years down the road, that we'll be better off. But in the immediate time, it's going to hurt. We're going to be in bigger debt. Just, you got that going for you.
Buddy Vladimir going to help.
Well, who knows? But if the federal government has a balanced budget where we have no surpluses, we have no deficits, by the way, you need to know what those terms are. If you don't, ask me. But if we have none of those, what's going to happen? It's balanced. So I think at this point we need to make sure we understand that right now I tell you that if we have a $21 trillion debt, and we have, let's say in 2018, let's say we run a $1 trillion deficit, that means we spend more than we have. And that's not too bad, by the way. I believe it was 2000, what year is it now? Oh yeah, I believe it was about 2011. We accidentally spent $1.6 trillion more than we had coming in as a government. Of course, it wasn't an accident, but we did. That was what's known as the Obama stimulus plan, where what we tried to do was the economy wasn't doing very well. He tried to do what FDR did, and they did it with the school. They painted walls, they brought in lockers, they redid the track, they did a whole bunch of stuff, because the idea there is if I pay Cheyenne to paint this building, then Cheyenne's going to hire a bunch of workers, and they're going to have a paycheck, and what are they going to go do? Spend it. And then I hire Fallon over there to resurface the track. She's going to hire some people she's going to pay people to resurface the track. I'm going to give her the money. She's going to pay her employees. What are they going to go do? Spend it. So it's a way of trying to get the economy roaring again, doing things again. And so what we did was we spent way more money than we had coming in, and that's how we get a debt. So if it's a $21 trillion debt, we have a $1 trillion deficit this year. Next year, when I am boring a new set of economics students, what will I tell them our debt would be then? 22 trillion. Okay? All right. Then we run another $1 trillion deficit in 2020 when I'm boring yet another group of economics students. How much is our debt going to be then? 23 trillion. Right. It just adds on. Deficit upon deficit upon deficit upon deficit upon deficit is our debt. Now, if I'm looking at our GDP, if I'm looking at GDP from one year to the next, that can tell me how our economy has changed. Good. So what's the answer to number 9? B, the growth. It tells us if our economy's grown. If our GDP is at 3% this year and 5% next year, the economy has grown. If it's at 3% this year and at 1% next year, the economy has not grown. Right? Things are bad. Good old Dwight visits Europe. Exchanges his American money for euros. What function of money does that relate to? And it's not what you think it is. I'm going to tell you people, I love y'all to death. I hate the testing system that y'all are under, but it is the beast that you're having to battle. And for some reason, they like to trick you poor people. They really do. They like to ask questions, and they will try to trick you on occasion. And so this is one example of how they're trying to trick you. How many of y'all put A? None of y'all?
I didn't get that far.
Number
I
two.
put C.
You put C. The answer is B. Okay. Medium of exchange seems right because you're saying he's exchanging money. No, remember, medium of exchange just means I can take this cash and I can exchange it for a product I want. I can take my dollar and I can exchange it and turn it into coffee. Standard of value, though, notice what money I said. My dollar. How many of y'all are sitting on a wad of pesos right now or Indian rupees in your pockets? No, all of you have what? Dollars, because that's our standard dollar. So when Dwight goes to Europe, guess what they use over there in most places? The euro. The store value, though, Mason, what does it mean when we say it stores its value? Keeps its. So if I take that dollar and I ball it up and I put it in a mason jar and I dig it in my backyard and I come back in 20 years, how much will that be worth? $1. Right. Still $1. Stores its value, keeps its value. This is tough stuff. I'll go ahead and tell you, traditionally, every year, macroeconomics is the one thing that trips us off. I'm going to tell you we're up here. In terms of toughness, we're about to slow it back down a little bit. International trade will be a little bit easier on most of it. Okay? But this macroeconomic stuff is sometimes difficult. But think, tax and spend is the only thing government does. Monetary money, monetary is done by the Federal Reserve. Dr. Omo, practice that over and over again if you need to. I'm going to put this recording online if you need to watch it again because you kind of got lost today, you've been zoned out. Fast forward through it. You can't do that in person, unfortunately. Keep in mind the indicators. This tells us how our economy is doing. Keep track of these. Make sure you know these. And for the love of all that is good in this world, practice those sample questions. Please practice those questions. You can message me up until, let's say up until about 10 tonight. If you have questions about particular ones, I'll be more than happy to help you. I really will. And if you want to come in first period tomorrow, before the test during second period, we can kind of go through and roll that as well. Okay, so that's there for you. But just try. Y'all got this. You're almost done with economics. Are you feeling all right?
Yeah.
Great. Good stuff.